Hello everybody, this is Nirmal Chawla, and today I would like to welcome Mr. Jim Talbot, a US Chancellor for University DAD Center there, and go to teach in USA. And I would like to welcome you, Jim.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So Jim has been very kind enough to visit our office today. He was on a tourism visa here in India, and today we would like to talk about how a student or how a client can go into US and go in for a teaching program. So they can, Jim, would you like to apprise our clients on how they can become a teacher in US?
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. And first of all, I'd like to say we badly need teachers in the United States. Our population is getting older, and there are many professions where too many people are retiring and we don't have enough. And teaching is one of those professions. So we badly need teachers. In order to qualify to teach in the United States, you first of all need to, if you're from India, you need to have a bachelor's degree. And it doesn't have to be in teaching, it can be in any area as long as it's the equivalent of a US bachelor's degree or greater. Once you qualify for the program, there are a few things that you have to do. First, prior to leaving India, you need to take an exam that is an entrance exam for the teaching profession. You need to do 150 hours of online training, and you need to do virtual classroom observations. Once you have met those three criteria, you are then eligible to interview for a teaching position in the United States. And we are bringing our candidates through the state of Texas. Once you get a job offer in the United States as a teacher, you are eligible for an H1B Visa, which allows you to work in the United States. Now, typically those visas are very difficult to get. However, if you're coming to the United States to work as a teacher, you are exempt from the cap, and there is no lottery that you have to go through in order to get an H1B visa.
Oh, okay, great.
So it's about one of the easiest ways there exists to get an H1B visa.
So Jim, can you throw some light on that certified program that you're talking about?
Yes. So we work with a licensed authorized certification program in Texas, and when they bring you to the United States, they place you with a school district, and you do a year of supervised teaching. And then at the conclusion of that year, while you also do another 150 hours of online training, while you also pass an exam to qualify for the teacher's license, at the end of that year, if you successfully complete the requirements, you will have a license as a teacher.
Perfect. So Jim, once a candidate has the license to be for a teacher, how do they get a job? Do you help them out with that?
Absolutely. In fact, when you come to the United States and you do your student teaching, you are actually coming in a paid position.
Right.
You are coming doing a supervised teaching position, but you are paid while you're doing it, which is why you get the H1B to do it. And we absolutely assist the candidate in getting a job to come to the United States as a teacher.
So you mean to say they already will have a sponsor and they'll get sponsored on H1B Visa?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then they can continue their pathway to green card and then permanent settlements and everything after that.
Absolutely.
So Jim, something which I really want to understand, when you're looking for a job, would you like to have a 15 years of studies from a candidate, or 16 years is much preferred? Like, sometimes in India, a lot of candidates have done their graduation degree and then they have done their bachelor's of education also. That's a 2 years program in India. So that if we totally look at that, it becomes a 17 years of studies. So what do you prefer, 16 years and above studies, or 15 years still you can manage to get them a job?
No, actually 16 years is required.
Right.
Because when they come to the US, they have to have the equivalent of a bachelor's degree in the United States, and a bachelor's degree in the United States is 4 years. So they would need the 12 plus 4.
Okay. Another thing which has come to my mind, whenever we talk about any candidate going overseas, they need to prove their English proficiency levels. They need to do either TOEFL, IELTS or PT. So what is your requirement if they want to come as a certified teacher?
Well, here's good news for everybody who's from India. India is TOEFL exempt, which means if you have your degree from an Indian university, you are not required to take the TOEFL exam.
Okay. So, and the percentage really doesn't matter, but they need to have a degree in hand.
Correct.
Okay. So you mean to say anybody from any Indian degree from any university is acceptable, irrelevant to the subjects that they have, studied in that particular degree program?
It does not matter what they've studied, and in fact, we are in high need for teachers that can teach science and math. So pretty much any graduate of a STEM program would make an outstanding candidate to become a teacher in the United States.
So what I really understand is that they might have studied any subjects, but they need 16 years of education, which would be more acceptable. Yeah, and so TOEFL is not required as of now, but they should be good in English.
Absolutely.
And correct. And when we apply for the visas, the sponsors would help them out for that same?
Exactly. But when they apply for the job, the school district becomes your sponsor for the visa, and the school district will take them through the process of applying for and getting approved for a visa.
So are you only helping in Texas, or are you looking at some other states as well?
Well, that's a good question. Right now, all of our candidates from India are coming through Texas. However, we are finding teaching positions in other states. And what is going to determine whether they come through Texas or another state is the entrance exam that they take. Texas requires an exam called the Texas Contents Exam. It's given at Pearson VUE testing centers, which are in Texas. However, there's an alternative exam for other states. It's called the Praxis exam. And this is given at ETS testing centers. So if a candidate chooses to come to another state, we could arrange for them to go through another state as well.
State as well. But whichever state they need to go, they need to get themselves registered as a teacher, or they need to do a certification of that particular state.
Exactly. Every state has their own licensing requirements. Every state has their approved or licensed alternative certification program. So when you come to the U.S., you specifically get licensed in a state. Now, after you get a license, it is relatively easy to take that license to another state, but you first need to get your initial license.
Jim, before we finish this show, I would just like to understand, what is the salary bracket student can or a candidate can get once they become a teacher in Texas?
Yeah.
And would they be teaching small kids or secondary kids, or
Okay, so let me answer the second question first, which is, when you get a license, what do you get a license for? And you actually get a license for two different things. The first thing is the age of the children that you'll teach. And that will depend on what your interest is. If you want to work with younger kids, you can get licensed for younger kids. If you want to get licensed for older kids, you can get licensed to teach high school. In addition to that, for the older kids, you are licensed to teach a specific subject. And that will depend on whatever your academic and professional background is. So let's say you want to teach math in high school, you will have to meet the requirements for teaching math to high school age kids. So that's the topic in the age group. In terms of the salary, the starting salary for teachers in the state of Texas is about $60,000 a year.
That's good.
Yeah. And the other thing that we have to remind people who are coming to teach, there's only 180 work days per year. You basically get all the holidays off, the spring holiday, the winter holidays, as well as typically 3 months for a summer holiday.
Second, another, if you can throw some light on, would you prefer the candidate to be single or married? Because as far as I understand, if they come on H1B Visa, probably the spouse may not get the right to work. Am I correct?
Well, yes. Now, the first thing I'll say is, in America, we're very hands-off in terms of what your personal situation is. Whether you're married or single, that's your personal business. However, when you come over an H1B visa, you are allowed to bring your dependents with you, including your spouse. Now, the spouse is not necessarily allowed to work when they come to the U.S., but they are legally allowed to come and stay in the United States. And if a spouse wanted to work, we would recommend they either become a teacher themselves and get their own H1B visa, or alternatively, find an employer who's willing to sponsor a visa.
All right. And before we end this, our show, Jim, can you, though I've introduced you, but can you just give your introduction once again?
Sure. My background?
Yeah.
Sure. So I have been in the area of education pretty much my entire career, primarily in trade and technical education in the state of Texas. And currently, I am the U.S. Chancellor of a Mexican university, Universidad Santander. We are providing online degree programs in the United States in Spanish for Latino immigrants in the United States. In addition to which, given all the job shortages we have in the United States, we are recruiting high-skilled immigrants to come to the United States to work in professions where we have shortages.
Great. So I would thank you, Jim, for sharing your profile, and I would like to thank everybody who's watching the show and wishing everybody a very happy new year to come by another 2-3 days. So we look forward to see you. Our numbers I mentioned below. Please be free to connect with us. We'll guide you across and can get you connected with Jim as it is. So we look forward to see you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.